Actually, my vision will be completely tied with where the governor wants to take the state to. The governor wants the state to be very efficient, accessible, and the most competitive state in the US. So translate that to what I need to do is I need to make sure that the technology works for making those goals achievable, and achieve those goals basically to make it the most efficient in terms of how can technology make the businesses or the agencies most efficient as possible. How can technology also make all the government services easily accessible? And also, by the use of technology, how can we make Illinois the most competitive state to attract business, talent, capital, and everything that makes the state competitive? Well, Jake, that's a great question. I mean, if I look at my career progression, it has been private, public, private, public. So most recently, I was with Cisco for close to 5 years, leading global market development for our Smart Cities practice and also for the Internet of Things practice. So I've been to 18 countries over the last 4.5 years, met with numerous governors, mayors, CIOs, and we have looked at, how can they be turned into either a smart city or a smart state, depending upon the jurisdiction that they cover. And I'll give you some examples, like, Hamburg, Germany, wants to be the smartest port. And for that, what we would look at is improve the port logistics using technology. When the cargo ship arrives, how the cargo moves out, gets out, off the ship, the dock area, and we just look at that, and also how does it impact or does not impact the environment. So basically, we'll take the same technology solutions and then we'll try to make it the smartest port. But then when you take that same concept of smart cities or the Internet of Things to Rio, Rio wants to be the inclusive democracy. Rio has poverty issues, Rio has crime issues, but at the same time, it did host successfully the FIFA 2014 World Cup, and it's going to host 2016 Olympics. So it needs to be prepared for those big events while making sure that the democracy, the people there don't feel they're left out. So we basically work with them to take the same technology, same solutions, and make it an inclusive democracy solution. So the idea is take the same concept and the global business experience and exposure that I gathered over the last 5 years and apply that in Illinois to make it the most competitive state. And then I'm not naive, it's not easy, it's the government environment. I also have that experience. I was a CIO for the city of Chicago before Cisco for over 5 years, so I know how legislatures work, I know how procurement works in government, I know how funding constraints are in the government, so and then the personnel structure and everything else. So basically taking that business experience and then making it work with the government boundaries that I have to work within, but still make governance objectives of making Illinois the most competitive state. Absolutely. I mean, going back to the previous thing. So, one of the good things that I learned within Cisco, and obviously you go to any private sector organization, the investment that a company makes is always based on a business case. And the business case is always connected to a return on investment. For a company, for-profit company, it's basically either the sales targets, revenue targets, operating margins, and so on and so forth. So whether if it's a retail company, then it's more customer retention, customer loyalty, and all the other things. So as it comes to government, identifying what are the key success metrics for the government success, and then looking at every project, every IT investment that we make has to have some business case associated with that, and has to have an ROI associated with that. Now that ROI could be increase in revenue, decrease in cost, increase in efficiency, and those are or it could be citizen benefit that we could think through. And most of the IT investments are going to be basically based on these ROI-based business cases going forward. And I think that would change the whole paradigm of how technology is done for the business of governance. Well, in 4 weeks, I even cannot tell you the numbers. And what I've seen is to some extent, there is a self-optimized bureaucracy. And that you would find that in a lot of state governments, a lot of governments in general, or a lot of large institutions that has not really gone through major changes over the last so many years. There are people in the middle management who really want to contribute and who really have vision, who really also have lots of ideas. Those ideas need to be plucked, and those ideas need to be then nurtured to grow that forward. So a few things I want to do very at the beginning is I do want to signal that there is a change. We are going to value the contribution of everyone. Everybody is going to be valuable to the organization as we move forward. As you have positive ideas, just bring them forward. We want to create this innovation, the culture of innovation. And with that also another thing that you would see a year from now, I'll be able to come back and tell you that whether I've been able to do that or not. And then obviously the routine things that as a technology leader, CIO, I mean, I'll come back to and tell you whether we'd be able to make progress in cloud, whether we've been able to make a progress in mobility, how we have been secure, and I'll definitely give you all of the things in the next year, technically how much progress we have made. But I think the bigger thing that I'm going to focus a lot on is that how can we take the current base, employee base that we have, and then proactively and productively utilize them towards the change. I think that's a great question. I think if we look at state of Illinois, there are 7,000 different entities that the state of Illinois has, which has different kinds of jurisdictions in it. And if you multiply that by 50, and then you've got the federal government, generally, you know, we hear from state and municipal governments is that there's not enough money. And to me, that's actually a myth. There is, if you think about how the federal government funding flows through the state, through the counties, through the cities, if we can start aligning, and this is what I'm going to talk on the DC fly-in on Wednesday, is if we can start aligning the various federal grants that come to the state, and if we can align them in a much better way, where we can actually take a comprehensive program of health and human services, and then we can implement those, or we can take a comprehensive program of public safety, and then we can implement them across the state, as opposed to just focusing on a particular benefit of health and human services. Like Illinois, the whole health information exchange, instead of it being a siloed, if it could be an entire health and human services, then we can work across the various government agencies, federal government agencies, to get the grants. That's one thing. The other big thing that I can see that can really happen is, you know, we have, and I'll give you an example, where I live. I'm at a corner of Chicago, Lincolnwood, Skokie, and Niles. Chicago, the big gorilla in there, and then smaller suburbs around it. And pretty much when I drive home for the past month, when I make a left turn to go into my street, I basically enter Skokie and then make a left to go back into Chicago. And then the lights, street lights for last month or so, have been working well on the Chicago side, but not working on the other side. So really, I as a citizen don't care whether I'm in Chicago, Skokie, Niles. I just want my street lights to be working. So why can't we have these smaller jurisdictions come together and, like Uber has done, create a shared economy in that area? And I think to me that would be something major if we can start looking at urban services, rural services as not just a problem of that particular jurisdiction of that municipality or county, but think about it as from the citizen's perspective and change the paradigm and start thinking about it more as a shared services, shared economy between all of these jurisdictions. I think that would really change how citizens see service being given to them.